मूकं करोति वाचालं पुंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Namaskar to all and welcome to the lecture number 9. Today we will be discussing on Panchakleshas. And again, this term is very important for us because we are discussing on yoga and allied sciences. And again, the concept of Panchaklesha will be discussed according to the Pantanjali Yoga Sutra or Pantanjali Yoga Darshan. So you all know that the term means 5 miseries. Pancha means 5 and Kleshas means the miseries or the pain. So we will be talking about the five major kleshas, right? So now you know that the term is used by Patanjali in chapter number 2, which is the Sadhana Pada. That means the chapter of means. And you all know that the first sutra of second chapter is dedicated for the science of Kriya Yoga. You learned yesterday the science of Kriya Yoga from the great Dr. Rajeshwar sir. So now you are very clear about the science. The method is very clear to you. You know that Patanjali says Tapa Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. That means Kriya Yoga has 3 limbs. One is Tapa, second one is Swadhyaya, and third one is Ishvara Pranidhana. And again, you have a good knowledge on this fact that the science of Kriya Yoga is actually the amalgamation of 3 prominent paths of yoga, namely the path of karma, the path of knowledge, and the path of the bhakti. Actually, the first limb, the concept of tapa, is based on the concept of karma yoga. The concept of swadhyaya is based on the concept of jnana yoga, and the concept of Ishvara Pranidhana is based on the Bhakti Yoga. So it is the amalgamation of 3 paths. And again, the science of Kriya Yoga indicates that all the paths arise and grow together. All the paths of yoga. Yes, for our better understanding, we make divisions. We think that Jnana Yoga is an individual path, Bhakti Yoga is an individual path, but the fact is all these paths work together, progress together. Now, the second sutra of the second chapter, which is through this sutra, Patanjali explains the twofold purpose of Kriya Yoga. One is Samadhi Bhavanartha, and second one is Kleshatanukaranartha. Now, what is Samadhi Bhavanartha and what is Kleshatanukarana? Samadhi Bhavana, that means Samadhi Bhavana, that means Kriya Yoga is to be practiced to for producing the state of inner sphere for samadhi. And the second one is Kleshatanukarana. This is very important term for our lecture. Kleshatanukarana, that means Kriya Yoga is to be practiced to make the kleshas weak. So through Kriya Yoga, we can we can make our kleshas weak. This is the beauty of Kriya Yoga. Now again, the term klesha, according to some scholars, that the kleshatanukarana, the second purpose of Kriya Yoga, kleshatanukarana is actually the first preparation to start the journey in Ashtanga Yoga. How we'll discuss later. But some proclaimed that the term Panchaklesha referred to our inborn afflictions, and these Panchakleshas are actually not only the root cause of all kind of pains or sorrow, but these are also the root cause of all the evil activities in man. For example, himsha. Himsha means attention, tendency of killing. Himsha, tendency of killing. Now this himsha is caused by raga, affection, and devesha, hatred. Through the practice of ahimsa, we can curb raga and devesha. And that is why some scholars say that the first limb of Ashtanga Yoga, which is Yama, and Yama has 5 limbs, the Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, and Aparigraha. According to some scholar, through the practice of these 5, we can make our kleshas weak. And that is why they suggest that the kleshatanukarana or the practice kleshatanukarana is the primary preparation for the path of Ashtanga Yoga. As through the practice of yamas, we can carve all the 5 kleshas. This is proclaimed by some scholar. Now, what is Panchaklesha? Which are the Panchakleshas? Patanjali says, Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Devesha, Abhinivesa, Klesha. There are 5 kleshas: Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Devesha, and Abhinivesa. Now, the first one is Avidya. It's a very beautiful term. The general translation of avidya is ignorance. But there is a very beautiful debate among the scholars of philosophy that what should be the perfect translation of the term avidya. Depending on this same question, this single question, there is a very beautiful debate. Some scholars say that avidya is not a general ignorance. Avidya is actually worldly knowledge, or technically empirical knowledge. Isavasya Upanishad says, avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam asmute. Transcending the death by the means of avidya, immortality is achieved by the means of vidya. What a statement. Now, through avidya, we can transcend the death. That is why avidya is not merely ignorance. They said, as avidya is actually the empirical knowledge, and due to this empirical knowledge, difficulties comes to a man to identify the reality. That is why their suggestion is the best translation for the term avidya is illusion. And if you want to say it ignorance, then okay, you must not say only ignorance. Better to say avidya means ignorance of reality. So this is the beauty of the term. Now the second one is Asmita. You all know that Asmita means the egoity or I amness. It is the sense of individuation, right? The third one is Raga, that means attachment, Devesha, that means hatred, and Abhinivesa, that means fear of death. It is also a very interesting term we'll be discussing accordingly. Now, Patanjali makes a very important statement. He says, Avidya kshetramuttareshang prashuptatanu vicchinno dharanam. Very important statement is Avidya kshetramuttareshang. According to Patanjali, Avidya is the fountainhead of all the other kleshas. This avidya serves as the field where the later four, that means the Asmita, Raga, Devesha, and Abhinivesa grow up. So the indirect teaching is, if you can control your avidya, if you can destroy your avidya, then the other four will be destroyed automatically. So you have to focus on the destruction of the avidya, which is not the ignorance, it is ignorance of reality. Now he says that the later four kleshas have four states of development. Four states of development. One is prasupta, then tanu, then vichinna, and then udara. Actually, these four states are actually the four degree of functional intensity of the four kleshas. Now, the first state is prashupta. It is deeply dormant state. That means, actually, at this state, kleshas are, most harmless. At that state, the kleshas most harmless. I mean, now kleshas are, and the functional growth of the kleshas are almost like non-existent or dead. Like a man who is enjoying the deep sleep. The man who is in deep sleep actually almost non-functional like a dead man. At this state, kleshas remain in that particular state. Kleshas are there, but they are almost dead. Okay, that state is called prashupta. Then is tanu. Tanu means weakened state. So, at this state, kleshas are there, but they are too weak. They are too weak that they rarely function. They rarely function. They are there, but they function rarely. That means at this state also, kleshas doesn't have power to do anything evil. And Patanjali says, kleshatanukarana is the purpose of Kriya Yoga. That means he wants to teach that through Kriya Yoga, a practitioner can attain this particular state when his kleshas are very weak, too weak. Okay. The next state is vichinna. Vichinna means interrupted. The interrupted state. Interrupted state means, it means at this state, sometimes kleshas are active, sometimes not active, sometimes present, sometimes absent. That means from this state, actually, kleshas are becoming powerful. And the last one is udara, which is the strongly active state, generously abundant. That means at this state, all the kleshas are very strongly active and always active. So these are the four states of development of the latter four kleshas. And all these arise from the plane of avidya, as avidya serves as the field of other forces. Okay. Now we have to understand what is avidya. He says, Patanjali says, anitya suchi dukkhanatmashu nityo suchi sukhatmakhyati avidya. In a nutshell, avidya is understanding of something in that manner which is not actually the original nature of that particular thing. To understand this statement, we have to understand this sutra. This sutra gives us 8 key words: anitya, impermanent; asuchi, impure; dukkha, pain; and anatma, that means not the purpose of self. And other 4 keywords are nitya, permanent; suchi, pure; sukha, pleasure; and atmakhyati, that means purpose of self. Now, this sutra gives us 4 key instructions about avidya. To understand the nature of avidya, we have to understand these 4 key instructions. First, avidya is understanding of anitya, impermanent, as nitya, permanent. That means when you are considering something anitya as nitya, is called the avidya. For example, we consider, believe, and understand that the world is permanent, the sun is permanent, and that is why we make the statement that sun rises in the east, it is the universal truth. But through the understanding of the different path of liberation, a practitioner can identify that all these are actually not permanent, these are impermanent, because all these are the product of prakriti, all these are caused by the inharmony among the 3 gunas. When 3 gunas become balanced, all these will be vanished. That is why the world, the sun, the moon, all these are not the permanent things, these are impermanent too. But we consider that it's the permanent, and this is the avidya. Second, avidya is understanding asuchi, impure, understanding of asuchi as suchi, understanding of impure as pure. That means when we consider something asuchi as suchi, it is the avidya. For example, we believe that our body is pure. But the fact is, the body produces stool, body produces urine, body produces cough, which impure thing it cannot be a pure thing. So when you think that body is pure, that means you are under the clutch of avidya. Then the third one, avidya is understanding of dukkha, pain, as sukha, pleasure. That means when you consider that something pain as pleasure, it is avidya. For example, we think and believe that the worldly achievements are the cause of pleasure. But the fact is, all the worldly achievements result into the pain. Because, for example, you have got 80%, and that is why you are very pleased. But you are pleased until you come to know that your friend is the topper of the class. When you come to know that your friend is topper of the class, then you will not be happy. Pleasure will be vanished. And another fact is that after a few hours, after a few days, after a few weeks, or after a few months, or after a few years of an significant achievement, even you yourself do not feel that kind of pleasure on your own achievement. Yes, I have achieved star marks in higher secondary. It is the cause of pleasure for a few days. But if you don't manage to manage for the honors, don't manage for to gather the marks for the honors, that pleasure will be vanished. And that is why all these worldly achievements are the temporary pleasurement, are the temporary pleasure. But and if you think that the temporary pleasure is the ultimate, then you are under the clutch of avidya. You have to overcome this avidya and you have to attain the ultimate pleasure. The fourth one is avidya is understanding of anatma, not the purpose of self, as atmakhyati, purpose of self. For example, we think in this way that this comfortable bed is for me, this tasty food is for me, and we think that this tasty food, comfortable bed, all these are actually fulfilling the purpose of self, because we feel pleasure, we feel satisfaction. But the practical thing is, all these are fulfilling the purpose of your egoity, your sense of individuation. So the self doesn't need any comfortable bed, doesn't need any tasty food, and that is why all these my sense, me-centric sense, actually not serving the self. It is for your satisfaction, it is for your satisfaction of your egoity. So this is the avidya. Now moving forward, we have to understand what is the asmita. We told earlier that asmita is the sense of individuation. Actually, Patanjali says, Drik Darshana Shaktyo Rekatmate Vasmita. That means if we break the sandhi, then we'll get Drik Darshana Shakto Ekatmata Eva Asmita. A very beautiful word, Ekatmata. Ekatmata means identification or unification. So Asmita is, according to Patanjali, Asmita is identification of two potentialities, unification of two potentialities. One is one is the potentiality of seeing, and which is drashta, and another is potentiality of being seen, that means drishya. So Asmita arises from the identification between the drashta and drishya. If we want to make this statement simple, then we have to understand that it is nothing but the false identification of, buddhi and purusha. When we are discussing on the evolution theory, I mentioned that buddhi is the first product of prakriti. That is why it is mostly dominated by sattva, and sattva is the potentiality of knowledge, and it is bright and light. That is why the pure consciousness reflects on it, and due to the reflection of that pure consciousness, we think that buddhi is conscious. So when we identify that reflection of pure consciousness as consciousness, this is the cause for Asmita. So it is a false identification between the pure consciousness and the intellect. Then Raga. It's very simple. Raga means attachment. He says Sukhanusai Raga. Raga is result of Sukha. That means we can say that Raga is an inborn tendency. What kind of tendency it is? It is the tendency that attract the pleasure. Attraction towards pleasure is attachment. It is our inborn nature. So it is the raga. And next one is dukkha, just the opposite of raga. The next one is devesha, hatred. Now he says dukkhanusai dvesha. Dvesha is a result of dukkha. That means it is actually the tendency. What kind of tendency? Repulsion from dukkha. It is our inborn tendency. We want to give up pain. This tendency is hatred, right? And the next one and the final one is Abhinivesa. It is also a very, very important term and very beautiful term. Abhinivesa, that means the fear of death. Now Patanjali describes Swarashavahi Vidishopi Tatharudha Abhinivesha. So Abhinivesha, fear of death, is Swarashavahi. Fear of death functions on its own force. We can't restrict, we can't stop the flow of death. We can't stop the flow of age. And that is why in every second we are actually coming close to the death. We don't have any power to stop this force. And secondly, vidushopi tatharudha vinivesha. Fear of death is equal for both learned person and an ignorant person. We the learned person, because we have learned so many texts of yoga, we have learned so many techniques of meditation, pranayama, trataka, etc. That means we are learned person. We know what is yoga, what is body, what is the prana, but still we have fear of death. Who wants to die in this world? And one man who is the driver of auto rickshaw, he is also enjoying his life. He is also enjoying the gross enjoyments, the gross pleasure which comes from the gross objects of this world. He also doesn't want to die. So the fear of death is equal for both kind of people. But now again, if a practitioner practice his duty perfectly, then only he can attain, he can discover the actual truth of death, like Nachiketa. And then he will be saying, according to R.N. Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, Maranare tuhumamo syam samana, oh my dear death. For me, you are equal to my Sam, you are equal to my Lord Sri Krishna. For me, attaining death is attaining my Lord. Because through the path of knowledge, one can destroy the layer of his ignorance. And if he can carve the avidya, then he can understand that this the death means the death of this gross body. The gross body is the very difficult obstacle between the reality and the unreality. It is so gross cover between the reality and unreality that we can't progress. We can't progress in a right flow. So now a practitioner can understand that death of the body is actually the destruction of this wall between the reality and unreality. Now he can enjoy, he can discover his subtle essence, and will be enjoying the subtleness of the knowledge. And now he will not be fear for death. He he will be ready to welcome the death. Maranare tuhumamo sayam samana. So this is the beautiful term, Abhinivesa. There are so many discussions we can find from the Veda Mimamsa of Srimad Anirban. He has written almost 100 pages on Mrityu, on the mystery of Mrityu. The beautiful writing we have, we can consult it. And Patanjali says that all these kleshas can be carved, can be made weakened through three processes. One is Kriya Yoga, Klesha Tanukarana. So through through Kriya Yoga, we can make our kleshas weak. First one. Second one is, he says, one can carve down the kleshas through pratiprasava. I mentioned this term. It's very important term in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, pratiprasava. That means that is the process of counter evolution or the involution, or in easy language, it is a journey towards the opposite direction of the evolution flow. So through pratiprasava also one can carve down the kleshas. And he says another option, which is dhyana. He says through dhyana also you can remove your kleshas. So this is all about klesha. I want to stop my words here, and I am now open to take your questions.
So can you say what is the third means to overcome? One is Kriya Yoga, second is Pradiprashava, and the third one?
Pradiprashava, and third one is dhyana.
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 Thank you, sir.
He says that places are the root cause of karmas. All these things are there, but I don't want to make it long.
Mentioned about the dormant stage of this Panchakleshas. So the dormancy is throughout, or in future they can be seen?
Yeah, actually, it is that state we can achieve through through dhyana only. Because through Kriya Yoga, we can have Klesha Tanu Karana, the state of Tanu, weakened condition. Through Kriya Yoga also, we can make our Kleshas weak. But the Prashupta state, it is a higher state than the Tanu Karana, Klesha Tanu Karana. That is why it could be, that is why the other two processes are there. We can reach there through Pratiprashava or through Dhyana. Through Kriya Yoga, we can achieve up to the Tanu state. But if we want to move further, then we have to go through the Pratiprashava or through Dhyana.
एक्सक्यूज मी सर, आपने वो राइटर का नाम क्या बोला? अभिनिवेश के बारे में और ज्यादा जानकारी?
श्रीमद् अनिर्बाण वेद मीमांसा. Srimad Anirban, Veda Mimamsa. It has 2 volumes, but it's very beautiful.
Dormant stage wala answer नहीं दिया.
Dormant, I mean, at this state of development of the kleshas, at this state of, I mean, this state, this functioning state of kleshas is that state when kleshas remain almost like dead. Kleshas are there, but they are almost like the dead. That is why we can't even realize that kleshas are there. Like a man who is enjoying a deep sleep. Man in deep sleep is actually almost non-functional, like a dead man, right? You are singing in front of him, you are taking a good mixed chow mein, but he doesn't react. But he is there, he is not dead. Like that, at the state of Prashupta, kleshas are there, but the reaction of kleshas cannot be found. They don't do anything, but it doesn't mean that kleshas, this state is the absence of kleshas. It is not. It is not the absence of kleshas. Kleshas are there, but the kleshas are like a dead person. They do not do anything. Okay. And we can reach this state through dhyana or pratiprasad.
So, sir, does it mean that initially we are in the state of Udara, and by
Udara,
practicing,
right?
Okay, then we move up like to
Again Pratiprasava.
Chinna, by
Again
doing
Pratiprasava.
Okay.
Again it's Pratiprasava. Actually, journey of yoga is, the journey from gross to subtle. Always, it's the journey from gross to subtle. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there any other question? Have you understood the concept? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Maunam sammati lakshanam.